Hey, Metal Maniacs! We are Howler from Costa Rica, and you're thrashing it up on Dave Softee's Metal Meltdown on Metal Messiah Radio.
Alrighty, Metal Maniacs, please help me welcome to Metal Messiah Radio, hailing from beautiful San Jose, Costa Rica, from heavy thrash metal band Howler, here to talk about the band's latest release, Descendants of Evil, released November 18th 2022 through Ragnarök Records, CDN Records, and Gator Records. Joining us, we have basically the entire band except for the rhythm guitarist David Mora. We have Charlie Díaz on vocals. We have Renan Obando, lead guitarist. We have José Fucas Mora, and we'd like to know how you got that nickname. And your newest member, drummer Daniel Gonzalo.
There you go.
Very good. Great to have you here. Very impressed with your offering. It's a great album. And I have checked out your previous releases too. You're an awesome band. And I want to welcome you to Metal Messiah Radio and the Metal Meltdown. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you,
so
Dave,
much.
for having us here.
Yeah, thank you for the chance.
Sure. So let's learn all we can about your fine band and this great offering, Descendants of Evil. As I said, I've checked this out, and it's a great offering. Really heavy thrash metal. It reminds me of Legends of Metal. I hear some Iron Maiden. I hear some even Iced Earth. When I first heard it the first time, I'm thinking, wow, all of the bands I really like, I hear in your sound, and it's really great to have this. And I find you have really outstanding or excellent musicianship.
We're glad you liked it. Yeah, we're glad you liked it, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah, of course I liked it. Yeah, and I'm really interested to know. I'm learning more about your band as we go. Actually, that you have signed with 3 different labels. So I'd like to know what label you signed with. First, Ragnarök Records, based in Germany, CDN Records, based in Canada, and Gator Records, based in Switzerland. How did that all come to be?
Okay. Hello. I may respond this question. Hello to everyone. It is a pleasure for us to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to do this interview with you guys. Getting a deal with a label may not be an easy thing. It was a very time-consuming job because when we were looking for a label, we were in the middle of the COVID, so almost all of the thrash metal labels that we contacted didn't want to sing any band at that time, So it was a very difficult job. But there was a German label named Ragnarök Records that got interested in us. So they put a very good deal on the table for us. So we sing with them for one album that was our 3rd record. Its name is No More Circus. I know you have listened to it, but it went so good. We sold all the copies, and Ragnarök Records got interested in our new record as well. I mean, I'm talking about Descendants of Evil. And after that, there's another label that got interested in us. I'm talking about CDN Records from Canada and Gator Records from Switzerland also. They got interested too. So we sang to them because we know it would give us more exposure, to the world, to the people, and that's basically what we are looking for.
That's interesting. So you get more words for Howler and all around the world. So you get to actually conquer the world with the record labels.
Yes, that's right.
That's good. That's good. And I was reading somewhere that as of 2013, Howler was a fusion of 2 different bands. A band called, I guess, members of Inhaler had joined with Howler that formed in 2009. And as you mentioned, your previous release, I want to mention all 3 releases that you have out there. The 2014 Back to Badness, the 2018 Fallen But Not Forgotten. I find that to be a very different album sound-wise from you. It's a little bit more downplayed, I think, a little bit more maybe slower for some reason. And then you have the No More Circus from 2020. So you're bringing us the music, which is great. So let's learn about how Howler started, and actually, if you could tell us who named the band. How did Howler get its name?
All right. Well, Inhaler was founded by Renan, or as we call him here in Latin America, Renan, and by his brother. Renan was just 15 years old and was already playing in bars, Meanwhile, Jose, David, and I, together with other friends, founded Howler at the end of 2009. And then the members of both bands lived in the same area and had played many shows together, so we became friends. Also, both bands went through various lineup changes and some instability, you know. At the beginning of 2013, we wanted to start recording our first album, but the drummer, our pain in the ass, left the
Yeah.
left the band,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we kicked out the other guitarist.
Oh.
So Jose got the idea to ask Renan and Josue, Inhaler's drummer, for help, you know, to record those instruments and got the album we wanted to record that time. While we got the musicians who will form part of Howler, but in the process there was chemistry. I don't know how to put it, but it was just like magic, you know. Everything got together. The idea of merging the two bands arose, and that's how it all started. And the band reached a new level. It was an improvement.
That's a great story, and you were telling me something that wasn't. It's definitely a story, but it's a sad story about your drummers. You've gone through 10 drummers. You were telling me.
That's right.
Why
More
is
than 10, actually.
more than 10? Why is that? Why is that? Is it hard to get a drummer?
I think it's really hard.
It's kind of hard to get people that are really committed to music, you know, sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, and also the thing with drums is that it's kind of an expensive instrument, and not everyone can acquire a drum set and actually study drums to like perform to the level that a band like Howler needs, and also the commitment. It's right what Renan is saying, commitment to stay in a band for a long time and work on it. It's really hard. I mean, you can find guitar players everywhere, and good guitar players, and bass players, and vocalists. But drummers, oh my God, it's so hard.
It's that way also in Spain. From talking to many bands that I've had interviews over the years with, it seems that a drum kit is like a luxury, and it's hard for them to find a drummer for a lot of these thrash metal bands. It's really quite a nuisance.
It really is. It took me more than 15 years of playing drums to actually have my first own drum set. It's extremely expensive. You cannot transport it anywhere you want. I will talk about this later in the interview, but yeah, it's extremely hard to just acquire it and maintain it and setting it up. The time that it consumes you to actually build it on stage and then tear it apart, it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
so yeah, being a drummer is not an easy job.
Yeah, and then to go through so many, that's amazing. But the sound that I hear on this Descendants of Evil is really outstanding. So let's learn all we can about the making of this. As far as the writing process, what and how do you come to your music? How does your music come to be? How does it come to fruition? Who writes the words of the music? Who writes the melodies? Is there a process that you have? Do you do it together?
There is a process indeed, Dave. Yeah, first of all, thank you for the chance to speak about our band today, Dave. We really appreciate it. Basically, most of the music is composed by José Fucas and myself. In second place, we have rhythm guitar David Mora, who also comes up with very nice riffs and solos every so often. The lyrics are mostly written by Charlie and I. Also, now that we have a really good drummer, Gonzalo, in place, we hope to take advantage of his input and expertise for future songwriting, you know. In my personal case, it's pretty fun because usually what I do is that I just sit down on a weekend with a couple of beers and everything, it starts with a good guitar riff, you know, and then the rest of the song starts flowing by itself. It's pretty fun. Also, I'm always coming up with interesting names for songs all the time, and I try to choose specific topics that I want to talk about or express in our songs, you know. And then I start making the lyrics and not finish until I make sure that they are what the band is looking for. Also, Charlie participates a lot when polishing the lyrics. Also, we usually try to be as versatile as possible when composing music, meaning that, you know, we try to make sure that all songs are different, and that is what some special fans like about Howler. In one song, for example, we can be very aggressive and go pretty fast, and the next day we can be very melodic, technical, and slow. For example, in this recent album, Descendants of Evil, the first three songs go really, really fast,
Yeah.
and then we have this fourth song, which is this instrumental song called Supernova, in which we try to give fans a rest from the speed so they get refreshed and ready for the rest of the album, which is mostly heavy and aggressive all the way until the end. But yeah, pretty much we all try to participate as much as possible when writing the music, and we try to include as many good sounds and influences as possible.
And you have this one song that stands out is Live to Party, Party to Live. You give a homage to so many bands in the lyrics to that song. I lost track of how many bands you mentioned in that song, but it was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. There is actually one part of the song that says that the song itself is too short to mention them all.
Yeah, that was it caught my attention right away. I really enjoyed that. And
Cool.
yeah, let's talk about the making of the album now. What studio was this recorded at, and who was responsible for producing Descendants of Evil, and who was responsible for the mixing, the mastering, and everything related to it?
This process was a mix actually. This record was produced by myself. As Renan already said, once we got all the songs written, we began the recording process for this album on December 2021. First, we recorded the drums on a friend's studio that is named Ragnarök Records. um, because we don't have the equipment to record drums. After that, I pick up the drums files and I started the recording of the strings and the rest of the stuff. And now, when we got all recorded, all the files, we contacted Martin Furia, who is a player from Destruction. He is actually the new guitar player for Destruction. We hired him to mix and master the record, and I think he did a pretty good job with our music.
Absolutely.
He gave us that dirty sound that we were looking for.
Yep. Also for the development of the artwork, Dave, we hired this guy, Dan Goldsworthy, who is a great UK artist. And we basically explained to him the context of the album, the lyrics, and also we mentioned to him our musical influences. From that, we gave him creative freedom. In the end, he delivered us an amazing result.
Yes.
Basically, Dan took as basis the war between Russia and Ukraine at the time, which is still going on actually in the Cold War feeling that we have been experiencing for a few years now. And of course, the issue of the pandemic, right? And not to mention that he was also inspired by Megadeth's Rust in Peace cover.
Yeah. I definitely see the political appearance of it. That definitely caught my eye too. He did a fantastic job for you.
Indeed, he did. Yep.
Yeah. And who designed your band's logo? That's already a classic design, but I'm not sure who created that.
Well, that's mostly work of myself. Well, we have had 5 different versions of it.
Oh,
First
yeah?
one was,
Okay.
yeah, like the drummer, it was an issue, but now we're happy with it. Well, the first one was made by a friend of mine, a graphic designer and illustrator. And we were just starting out and we didn't have much experience, so we didn't know much about it, about the graphic side of the thing, but we weren't entirely convinced. Then a friend of the drummer at that time made another version that we didn't like very much either. So sometime later, we got together in my house and made some sketches for a new version. I took that information and the sketches and did the design in Adobe Illustrator, and that's the logo that appears on our first album, Back to Madness. Then we were still not convinced, and a couple of years later, I designed a new version, the one on the second album, Fallen But Not Forgotten. We got to 2020, and the guys, they weren't happy.
Oh,
They
yeah?
told me they still didn't feel the logo was right. It wasn't trashy enough.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So they asked me do a new effort, and that's how I got to the final version. Ooh, it was difficult, but in the end, I think I did it. And that logo is the one in our last two albums. And with this version, I think it's the final, and I hope they don't ask me to change it again.
We're
Hey,
happy.
I
We're
hope they're
happy with
happy.
that logo.
I'm happy to hear that. That reminds me of a story from a band from the Bay Area called Hatchet. They changed their logo slightly from album to album. I guess they went through the same kind of a thing where the bandmates weren't so happy with it, so they made minor changes, and then they finally stuck with the one they've been using. It's
And you know something, Dave? I took one of those logos of Hatchet as a reference for the third logo. I think
wow.
I
That's
yeah,
it. It's interesting that we
I thought
mentioned
it
that.
was nice, and I inspired by it.
That's interesting. I would have never thought that, but that's great. That ties in
Yeah.
that situation there. And one of the most important things about doing these interviews is how to inform the listeners and the fans of Howler how they could get your music if they haven't gotten it already. And being that you're on three different labels, having your music available to you, I like to know what you would say would be the best links to share with the fans on how they could get your music. I know you have your Bandcamp. I'll give that. It's howlercr.bandcamp.com. You also have Instagram, the same as your Facebook too. It's also facebook.com, instagram.com/howler CR. And then you have your three labels. You have the CDN records.com, you have Ragnarök records.com, and you have docgatorsrecords.net. You also have Spotify, and you have your homepage, howlercr.com. Maybe that's the best place for the fans to go to. But what would you say would be maybe the easiest or the best place for a fan of Howler to get your merchandise?
That would be Bandcamp.
That would be Bandcamp. Okay, great. I'll give that again to the people out there. The Bandcamp link is howlercr.bandcamp.com. Now, that's for digital downloads. That's also for the CD. What other merch is available for the fans that want to support Howler?
We have vinyls and some T-shirts, but we're getting low on stock. So if people want some more T-shirts, they have to wait a little bit.
It's great that you have vinyl. Was that a very expensive proposition for you?
Excuse me, how come?
No, it was made by the label, the Gator Records carry out those codes.
Okay, great.
So we
Great.
just received the copies.
Okay, great.
And it's actually a very difficult process, right? To get vinyls nowadays. You can have like a year or 2 year waiting list to get a vinyl. I think vinyl factories, the places where they build actually, where they make them, it's not like it used to be. Of course, it's not selling the way it used to sell 20 or 30 years ago. It's not the same process. You have to wait a lot. As a band, you have to wait for a long time from the moment you tell the record label that you need vinyls to the moment you actually get them in your hands. It's really hard.
That's what I've been understanding. That a lot of the bands I've been talking to, they don't even want to do it because of it costs so much to do it, and the time, like you're saying, it's a very tedious task because they're not making them like they used to make. Like you said, it's a different world now, so the process is a different process because it's not like it's automatically vinyl is being made. There's like special order.
Exactly. It's not like in stock, ready to go. You have to actually order them. I'm holding our latest vinyl right now in my hands, and I cannot believe it. I mean, not every band can have this pleasure.
This is the truth.
Yeah.
This is the truth. Now, what design is your vinyl? Is it the traditional black, or do you have any colors available?
We have several. We have the classic black, and we also have the blue one. We have a blue one. We have a red one, and actually, I think we have a splatter one, right?
Yeah, that's
Charlie,
nice.
I think it's red with white splatters or something.
Red, translucent red.
Very nice. Very nice.
And the blue with some black splashes. And in the Gator Records store online, they have an exclusive clear color. It's transparent, you know.
Yeah, vinyl is for really diehard fans. These are collector's items. This is a artwork. This is what this is for. You know, we have the
Exactly.
CD. We have the CD to listen to, but the vinyl is just like another form of artwork that you want to display. But you're not necessarily going to be playing it on your record player. You know, this is a work of art.
Yeah, and if you actually sit down to listen to it, it's like you gather your friends because you're gonna listen to the vinyl. It's not like a casual thing.
Not anymore. It's a different world, like we said. Yeah, and yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you for telling us about the vinyl. That's great. I had no idea about that actually. But Doc Gator, that's the one doing it for you, right?
Yes.
There you go. Exactly.
Exactly. That's good. And let's talk about some videos. I checked out Howler on YouTube, and I saw a few videos there. I saw an official lyric video for the single anthem to the warfare. Then I also saw official lyric video for Cycle of Violence, and I see where it was recorded, and I see that Fucas has something to do with this as well. But I'd like to hear from you the making of these videos and who is responsible for making it so.
Yeah, of course. We also have actually one of our latest videos is for the song Panzer 666, which is it's a song about these huge tanks that we used in the World War II. I think it was used by the Nazis, right, Charlie?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's I think the latest live action video for the band. We filmed the band playing the song in its entirety and a side story as B-roll shots telling this story about this evil like soldier, and we were like the music soldiers fighting against his evil plans of building this tank, and it was everything about war and stuff, and that was the latest video we produced, and it was filmed here in San Jose, Costa Rica. And apart from that, yeah, we have a couple of lyric videos. Charlie have done some of those videos, and some of Charlie's friends. We are planning to make a new video, actually, live action as well.
Nice.
It has been a really fun process, and thankfully we can do it again because a year ago, 2 years ago, filming a video during like this lockdowns for COVID pandemic, it was really hard, like to find the right people to do it and the right time, and all the restrictions and everything. But finally, we can do it, and we will be releasing more videos in 2023 for sure.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you for sharing that information with us. And I like to talk about I know you're a touring band that you have performed live, and I've seen that you have performed previously with Chemicide, and yeah, Chemicide was on the show for Common Sense, I guess about a year ago. Frankie was on the show, and he sounds like a New Yorker because he lived in New York. It was so weird to talk to him. It was like talking to one of my neighbors. It was really interesting.
Right.
Yeah, and they're a great band. So you got to do some touring with them. And would you like to mention any of your past performances and any highlights that stand out in your mind, individually or as combined? Anything that you like to talk about from your past performances? And do you have any live shows coming up that we could spread the word on?
Oh yes, Dave. That's right. We Chemiside are our neighbors. We are like almost like brothers. No, we have been touring with Chemiside almost all the past year, and we'll do this year also. About highlights, well, I can tell about our last chance at Mexico. As you may know, Mexico is huge, so we had to be on the road for a lot of hours in the band, just to get to a place very far away from anything that we knew before. So we were supposed to be totally unknown there, but it was a very nice surprise to notice when the show began that there were some people wearing our T-shirts, and it was people who has met us in our first tour through Mexico. That was in 2019, I guess, and they were just, there supporting us, and that was definitely a highlight for myself.
Yeah, the underground has some great stories. That's a great story that you just shared with us on that. I'm happy to hear about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was incredible, actually.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and as far as shows coming up, Dave, since we're just starting the year now, we have nothing official yet. However, since, we're planning to go on a nationwide tour where we will probably try to visit as many places as possible, especially places that are far from our city and other places that we have not been to for a while. Also, we're aiming to play probably in Honduras soon. Hopefully, go there and take part in a big festival or something. Also, we're analyzing the possibility of visiting other Latin American countries. I don't know, maybe Colombia or someplace else. Definitely, we would love to go back to Mexico as well. We love Mexico. Uh, Also, hopefully, in the near future, we will go to Europe. We all agree that it's time for us to go there and play some good thrash metal for the European people as well. And actually, that's very likely to happen between this year and next year, we hope. And hopefully, someday, not very far from now, we will also go to the United States.
Great. That's what I wanted to know. I could see going on tour with Chemicide here in the States, even going to the West Coast, the Bay Area side, even coming to New York.
That would be crazy.
We would
Will
support
be a
that.
dream come true, yeah.
Yeah, thrash it up. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. And thank you for sharing that with us. We look forward to that possibility of you coming to the States and broadening your horizons and going to Europe. That must be exciting for you.
Totally.
Yeah, and let's talk about a little of your history. As you were telling us that you have gone through so many drummers, would you like to talk about what really led you to kick some drummers out? Was it their work ethic? They just didn't fit in with the band? And beyond that, would you like to talk about your gear? Would you like to talk about your guitars, your bass, your drums, or anything?
Dave, we use some basic and classic stuff, like I like to use PV amps on the bass guitar, and also a dark glass preamps. I love the tone it gave us. On the guitars, we usually use Marshall to get our tone, sorry. And about instruments, we have been dealing with some, some brands, but we mostly use Dean guitars and Jackson guitars.
Very nice.
Just metal stuff, dude. Just you
Yes.
cannot beat the old stuff. I mean,
That is true.
there are great pieces of gear nowadays, but if you want classic tone, gotta go with classic gear.
Exactly.
That makes sense. And what kind of drum are you playing?
Well, in my case, it's always an adventure, and you can talk about that with every drummer, not only in Costa Rica but anywhere. Drums are probably the most difficult instrument to acquire, to assemble, to tune, to set up, and most importantly, most difficult to transport. I think it's the most difficult instrument to take whatever you want to take it. So when it comes to talk about the specifications of the drums I play every weekend over here in Costa Rica, it's kind of hard to say. I'm always using and sharing drum kits with other drummers. But when I do get the chance to play my own drums, I use my D drum kit, which is it's the brand that the late Vinnie Paul from Pantera used to use, mixed up with some Sabian cymbals, tomo pedals, and my good old trusty Vic for the drumsticks. My main inspiration for my setups are mostly hard rock drummers. I am playing thrash metal with Howler, but I'm a hard rock dude. Old school Eric Singer from Kiss and Tommy Aldrich when he used to play with Ozzy Osbourne, mixed up with none other than Mr. Lars Ulrich from Metallica, specifically his 90s setup that he used to use for the Load and Reload era. I love playing aggressive metal on more classic hard rock drum kits. I'm also a hard rock vocalist in other bands, so I have this thing for classic hard rock drumming. I love it.
Excellent.
I'm always striving for comfort and playing thrash metal. It's fast, it's aggressive. I need to play with speed and strength, requiring the less amount of movement possible. So I'm always trying to find gear that helps me with that.
Excellent. Are you a fan of Ainsley Dunsbar? Remember him?
Oh yeah, of course. Oh my God. I mean, you read my mind. That is such a huge inspiration on my setup.
Yeah, he was outstanding when he was whatever band he was with. He was also in Whitesnake back in what, '87. I mean, he had a certain style that I to this day I still admire him. But you said something that caught my attention right away. Did you say you share your drum kit with other other friends of yours? Is that how you survive the drum situation, by sharing your equipment with other bands?
Oh my God. I mean, if most of our shows here are shared with other bands, like not festivals, but like you're always sharing the bill with like 2 or 3 or even 4 bands, and it's impossible to set up 4 different drum sets in one night.
I got you.
So you have to use one drum set for the 4 bands. So yeah, it's actually they share the drums with me. I barely use my drum kit on shows. I have it set up in my house to practice. Every show is a different setup. Maybe it's the house setup from the venue that you have to get there and see if it's in actual shape to play it. And if it's not that, it's any other drummer's drums. I take some of my hardware, my pedals, my cymbals, like to kind of personalize it a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're using all sort of drums. So it's really hard. You get used to play a certain way, and then you get to a venue and it's like another kit, and it's like a complete piece of crap. You don't know how to play it. It's terrible. It's terrible. You can find sometimes, you can have some luck and find some good drum sets. But no, man, it's so hard. I envy these guys because they just carry their little guitars in their bags.
Yeah,
they can play their guitar at every show. They know their guitar. They can play it at every show. I cannot do that, man. I have to, like, until the moment I arrive to the venue, I see if that drum set is in good condition or if I have to fight against it all the show.
So you've had some nightmares probably and some anxiety because of this.
It's terrible, dude. I try to breathe and accept the fact that this is going to happen at every show, but I cannot run away from my anxiety. Every show is like, dude, is this kit actually going to work for me? Is it going to fall apart? And the guys in the band, they have my back on this because they know if I screw up something in a song, they have heard me playing that song in the kit that we have at the rehearsal room. They know I can play it. But this freaking drum set on this freaking bar or venue, it's falling apart. I have to pick up cymbals from the floor during like the 5th or 6th song. It's terrible, man. And as you're sharing the stage with multiple bands, you don't have like an hour to set it up. You have like 15 minutes. You cannot set up a drum set in 15 minutes. And I mean, it's not only me. I'm pretty sure they cannot set up like the amps. Maybe the guitar is comfortable because it's theirs, but the amplification and the microphones and the monitor system. I mean, it's all a nightmare. But every musician that's touring or playing shows, we all go through this, and this is actually what makes us who we are. We're ready for any kind of scenario that we're faced with.
Now, are you going to be the answer to Howler's dreams as far as being the drummer? Are you going to put the history of Howler as far as drummers and their Spinal Tap moment to bed? Is it over with now?
I think I arrived at a very key moment in this band. These last 2 albums, No More Circus and now Descendants of Evil, are very strong productions, and the mindset of the band, they don't care about their age or the lifestyle or whatever they're doing. If we get the call, we're gonna go, and I'm ready for that. And I'm sure that some of the other drummers that they have had probably are not, or were not ready to take like important decisions, like going whatever music takes you. And I'm ready for it, man. I'm 26 years old, and
Congratulations.
I don't have any kind of responsibility more than myself. I barely take care of myself, so I can go anywhere we have to go. I don't really care, man. I'm here to do it, and music takes me wherever I have to go, and I live for this. So I hope this is the last drummer Howler has.
It sounds like you're fulfilling your destiny.
Oh
Right?
man.
Right. And gentlemen, do you want to talk about what you do for your living? How you make a living to support the band? Do you want to talk about your day jobs, what you do when you're not doing the band? Is that something that you want to talk about or not?
Absolutely, Dave. We're just regular guys. We all have full-time jobs. Pretty much in our region, it is kind of impossible to dedicate yourself completely to music or even think of music as a profession, at least in the rock or metal scene. In my personal case, for example, I work for a call center company. I work from home. Besides, I have a son that I like to spend time with. And mostly on my spare time, I like to do some exercise. I like skateboarding, playing video games. And of course, I like to play the guitar a lot at home to try to keep improving my guitar skills. Yeah, we're just simple guys.
Very cool.
Well, for myself, I have a company that develops educational and training multimedia products. And I'm also a university professor, and I have 2 children. And when I have free time, I play video games, I read a lot, and I play soccer or basketball.
Charlie is a teacher at the most prestigious university in the country and in Central America, by the way.
Oh, really?
The best public university in Central America.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, Charlie's a badass. Myself, I'm a graphic designer. I studied graphic design, photography, and audiovisual production. I create promotional videos and artwork for companies. As I told you before, I'm still young, so I'm trying to figure out my path. Besides music, it's the only thing I want to do. But as Renan said, Costa Rica it's a difficult place to live out of just music. Actually, my dad could do that. My dad used to play violin in these music groups that you can call mariachis, which are like Mexican music. He could actually live out of music back in the 90s and the first decade of the 2000s. But now it's not that common. It's not that easy. So as Renan said, we're regular guys. I love graphic design and 3D artwork and stuff. So yeah, that's what I do.
Very cool. That's very interesting. And did we get everybody to talk about their jobs?
Fucas, it's missing. José.
Hey Dave, I'm an agronomist engineer, and I'm also a luthier. So when I'm not doing the band, I'm dealing with plants and instruments.
That's cool. That's related to that's related to the band stuff. That's great.
Yes.
And gentlemen, is there anything that you would like to say to your fans that are tuning in at this time? Anything that you would like to say to them?
Well, Dave, I just want the people to enjoy our music and have found it interesting to learn a little more about us as a musicians, as a regular guys, as they said before. And I also want to thank you for listening to us today.
Yep. I also want to thank everyone for the support, all the fans. I want to thank you, Dave, and your team for making this happen and for giving us the chance to talk about our music today. We really appreciate you all. Stay tuned. Much more is coming from Howler on this 2023, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, Dave, thank you so much. You talk about Howler's music like you actually took your time to listen to it, and oh my God, you have no idea how many times you have interviews where guys are barely know what you do, and you actually listen to the music and you understand what we do. So thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that because I can't do an interview without knowing about the music, and because I want to know more about the music because I like the music. You know what I mean? That's how I do it. That's how and that's why I reached out to you to do the interview because I felt it's a great offering, and we need to learn more about it. I need to know more about it, and so do the people that are listening to the station. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here to make this happen. I knew it came pretty fast, but the album is out, I know, in November, but it's never too late to have promotion for it. So I will continue with promoting your music and talking about your music and playing it on the show. And I look forward to the future to have you back on the show on Metal Meltdown on Metal Messiah Radio with your future Howler releases. So keep me in mind when you have your next offering, and let's book a new interview when that time comes. I think we covered a lot of information. I learned a lot. I think our listeners are learning a lot, but I want to make sure that we brought all the information that we could out to the listeners, out to the fans. That being said, is there anything else that you would like to mention that we have yet to discuss?
Well, Dave, I think we covered everything, but just to add, 2022 was a great year for us. More people got to know us globally, and we released a great album, as you said before, you know. And our goal is to keep growing and create better music, and also visit more countries. As Renan said, we have the USA in our sights, so keep an eye on our movements. Time to make our move, as a song of us said, from Phantoms of Society. And thanks again, Dave. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much again. And I got to tell you, Charlie's vocals seem the strongest of all the releases, this being the fourth. I find his vocals to be the strongest. Voice has gotten to its peak. I believe you developed your sound.
Thank you.
Fuck yeah, Charlie.
Yeah. Great. You got a great offering here. Keep up the great work, and we'll be here to talk about it. So I want to wish each and every one of you a very happy new year, a safe 2023. May you have the best of health, continued success. Keep doing what you do, and keep making music so we could be back here talking about it.
Yeah, thrash metal never dies, dude.
Yeah.